We're back with more of our program regarding the 2003-2004 Hall of Fame inductees. And joining me now is Scott Wiersham, who actually graduated from Willmar Senior High School in 1978. Welcome, Scott, and congratulations.
Thank you. That's quite an honor.
Well, we are just thrilled to be honoring people that made very extraordinary contributions to our athletic programs over the years. And certainly when we look back at your resume and understand all that you accomplished, it really is quite a thrill to be talking to you and really taking a little trip down memory lane now regarding your accomplishments. Tell us a little bit about the sports that you were actually involved with during your tenure at Willmar Senior High School.
I was involved with football, wrestling, and track and field.
Did you have a favorite amongst those, or were you just one of these guys that wanted to be involved in sports during all seasons and they all were equally important to you?
Yes, my favorite sport was basketball, but at my size and height, you couldn't play that in Willmar High School. But actually, football was probably my favorite because I was more natural of a football player than anything.
What contributed to all of your athletic success? Can you put your finger on maybe 2-3 things that you really look back on and say that really made a difference?
Well, I believe my parents were very instrumental, and I had some good friends in high school. And I believe that, when parents are talking to their kids about having good friends, I think that's very important.
Oh, what a profound statement, because we know how important it is for young people to feel like they belong and that they're really connected with other peers, and then to have sort of strong supports from home as well. That's just a fabulous combination. So I take it that your friends enjoyed some of the same activities that you did.
That's correct. But I was taught at a young age to treat everybody in a good, well manner. So I had friends in all different areas in school, like in FFA, and I felt I had to help the kids out that were in special needs classes and stuff like that. So I had friends all over in the school.
Well, it sounds like you look back at your high school experience with pretty fond memories. What about some of the coaches and the people that were a part of the Willmar Senior High School during the time that you were here in the 70s?
Well, I was lucky to play for Bill Hansen his last year, and I grew up on the north side of Willmar where Bill always worked as a summer rec guy, and so I knew Bill all the way from second grade probably till 12th grade, and it was an honor to play for him. I also wrestled with John Horning, and John was a great motivation to all the wrestlers that wrestled for him and would push us a little, which helped us a lot. I played track and field and for Bob Lehman, and I wasn't the best at it, but we had a lot of good fun, and all my friends were in track and field, so I stuck out with that and helped with other sports too.
Well, you're identifying just some fabulous people, great role models, and people that dedicated large portions of their lives to working with young people in high school. So it's really gracious of you to think of these people and remember them.
Our second inductee is Scott Wiersham. Scott was a 1978 graduate of Willmar Senior High School. He was also the 1978 Male Athlete of the Year at Willmar High School. He was a 6-time letter winner, 3 years in wrestling, 2 years in football, and 1 year in track. He was a member of the 1978 All-State football team. He was also selected for the Associated Press, WCCO, and Shrine All-Star teams in 1978. He was all-conference in both football and wrestling in both 77 and 78. And he was a state tournament wrestler in 1978. Scott moved on to his football career at St. Cloud State University, where he lettered for 4 years. After graduation, he had free agent tryouts with both the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Jets. After time coaching both high school and college athletes in football and wrestling, he began what is now a 20-year career in the Department of Corrections.
I mean, these are, wonderful accomplishments. What sort of allowed that to come your way?
I think a lot had to do with the teammates I had. We had great teams back in the 70s, and playing with great players and having good competition really helped a lot. Along with playing as little kids, you'd always go out and play football and stuff like that. That helped.
One of the things I've noticed in the 2 years that we have talked to our Hall of Fame inductees is just the absolute modesty and how humble you are. And And I think that's sort of a common characteristic that shows how much you really did value the people that you played with. You really honored the whole concept of teamwork, and that just seems to be at the core of what you're telling us as well.
That's true. Teamwork is always a big part of the sports. By coaching a few years in high school wrestling and high school wrestling, college football, college wrestling, and high school wrestling, I found out teamwork is that. But wrestling is more of an individual sport, even though you do have kids that you wrestle with every day and they push you too.
Were you always driven to excel, or how did you sort of physically get into having all this stamina and expertise?
You got to go back to saying the coaches are the ones, and when you go home and your parents were supportive of you, you know, you could wrestle in the living room, and Dad would make you wrestle in the living room, and Mom would say, knock it off, you know, and she'd allow it, though. But things like that, and like I said, the coaches and having good friends.
You know, when you talk about sort of being allowed to explore all these activities, that makes me think in high school, when I was in high school, we didn't have the opportunities for girls in sports. But cheerleading was a big thing, and I think of how we would jump and cheer and carry on in the house, and, you know, that's right. When your parents allow that and encourage it, you know, people blossom with it.
I think the only thing is I tried band one year, and they didn't like me playing the trombone all night long, so I sort of quit that a little early.
Well, it's sort of good to know our limitations as well, right? Right. You went on to St. Cloud State University, and there you were a 4-time letter winner in football. So you explored this going on into your post-secondary education. What was that experience like?
At first, it was really tough going away from your family, and you got to realize when you're away from your family, and you got to learn a new cadence or whatever in football. It's a lot, and then go to school and higher education. It's a lot to go to a higher level of football. It was enjoyable at St. Cloud State, and football did a lot for me at St. Cloud State. I had the opportunity to wrestle in college, but with a bad shoulder from high school wrestling injury, I couldn't wrestle it. So I coached at St. Cloud Tech High School there.
So you did have that coaching experience during your college years.
Correct. I coached 5 years at St. Cloud Tech.
And when you finished up at St. Cloud, you were a free agent trying out with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Jets. What sort of pushed you to want to try that?
Well, I had the opportunity, I should say. I did not pursue it because of my injuries. And I did have a couple of roommates. Keith Nord, I was a roommate with from the Minnesota Vikings. He played for 9 years. Joe Robidoux was a roommate of mine. He played for Oakland Raiders for 2 years. And he got cut, and he was one of the better players on their team. And Mike Lambrick was a roommate of mine who played for the Miami Dolphins for 5 years. So I thought, well, do I want to pursue this, or do I want to move on in life and try to do what I wanted to do?
Well, it sounds to me like football and other sports as well really is sort of in your blood. Are you a real fan today of all of these big football teams throughout the United States?
Well, I don't get involved with like the fantasy football stuff anymore. When I was younger, I did, but nowadays it's more enjoyable to go see like my nephews play football or my nieces play any sport like that, and that's the big goal in my life right now, is to see them pursue their sports activities.
Scott, what do you do currently? And talk to us a little bit about your life after high school.
Well, after high school, I went to St. Cloud State, as I said, and I started working at a Minnesota Correctional Facility in St. Cloud, and I also coached at St. Cloud State for a couple of years. I found out that there was a job opportunity up in Sauk Center, Minnesota, at the juvenile place, where I pursued that, and I worked because I was going into education, and I thought helping troubled kids was what I wanted to do. As I got up there and worked there for 15 years, I loved it. It was the greatest job I had, working with troubled kids. At that time, after 100 years of existence there, I was laid off for 2 months, and I got the job over at the Rush City Correctional Facility, which is a brand new correctional facility. I am currently now the discipline discipline investigator at Rush City, where I give out discipline for any type of altercation in a prison. And a lot of people don't know there is a lot of crimes in the prison. We are now a double bunked prison, which is the first one in Minnesota. So we average a daily fight, amongst the prisoners. Other prisons usually have probably one a week, but we have one a day. So it's a busy job.
It sounds to me like it's a very challenging job as well, but yet you are making a difference. I mean, spending over 20 years with the Department of Corrections, hats off to you for really pursuing a career to this degree. Now, again, we're just thrilled to be honoring you, and today there was a pep fest, and it looks like one of the mementos that's coming your way is right in front of us. Tell us a little bit about this.
Well, after the Pep Fest, the three captains and the coach came up and congratulated me and gave me a hat that all the players had autographed for me. I think that's very nice. I'm glad it's not going to rain tonight because all the ink would have probably ran off of it.
Scott, as we're concluding here, and you sort of think about a message for young people today based on what you learned through your high school experience, what would it be?
Listen to your parents, because when they're gone, you won't have them anymore.
Oh, what wonderful advice. To look to those role models and those loving arms that are around us when we're growing up through our moms and dads. That's really great that you would mention that. There was a quote here that's on the sheet that I was given. I'll be known as the guy always covered with mud. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was the shortest usually guy out there, and I always sweated so much. And I would get down at their legs, and if it was muddy out or if it was snowing out, I was the dirtiest man on the football field in college and in high school. So that's because of me sweating all the time.
So you were out there giving it your all, and obviously you enjoyed it. Your teammates were happy to be working with you on the field and as a part of these various events. And today I can tell you still have a great passion for life and a real interest in what our young people are doing. So again, congratulations, Scott. We appreciate your taking time to visit with us and for allowing us to honor the great things that you did while you were in the Willmar Public Schools.
Thank you very much.
Scott was one of the most recognizable athletes of his day. He had the type of friendliness and personality that appealed to all of his classmates. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you a 2003 Hall of Fame inductee, Scott Wiersham.